Hey, you are live.
All right, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and call the Akron City Council Reimagining Public Safety Special Committee Technology Working Group to order, please. Can I get approval of the last time we held a meeting, the minutes, please, on October 21st?
I'll make that motion to approve those minutes.
All right, motion by Councilwoman Connor. Can I get a second? Councilman Neal, would you like to second that?
Yes, second.
All right, I have a motion, a second. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? All right. So we're going to move forward with our meeting. We also have our two interns that are available on here too. Today we are missing Captain Yowie. He is out of town and is not able to join us. So today we just have Lieutenant Farrar, and he's going to discuss our city camera system and software. Lieutenant?
Sounds good. Thank you, Donnie. Sarah, do you have to do the screen share?
Sorry, I was muted. I allowed it already, so you should be
did you?
allowed.
Okay.
Yep, so it should be good to go.
Cue this thing up here. Everybody see that? Yeah.
I can see just fine, yep.
All right, so let me see if I can minimize this. Okay, so today we're going to talk about the city's network of cameras that we have in Akron, which is pretty robust considering the size that we are. So we're going to talk today about how we can tap into using this network of already owned and operated and maintained camera systems to help us solve crimes for police, which is kind of cool because a lot of cases that we have now with investigations, most of them now have some type of video in them. So this is really kind of good stuff here. So I can switch to the next slide here. Sarah, do you know why this won't allow me to forward through my presentation?
I am not sure.
Let me. Hopefully I don't have to.
Now it's working. It just moved.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hopefully I don't have to. It's not allowing me to scroll through. There we go. Okay. So let's take a look at what I'm talking about here briefly. When I talk about the city network of cameras, you can see this little news clip that I downloaded here for this presentation.
Lieutenant Farrar, I'm sorry to interrupt, but if there's supposed to be audio, it's not coming through for us.
Oh, I'm listening. You guys are listening to a no audio on this thing?
Yeah, yeah.
So you didn't hear any of that audio?
We did not.
Do you see my screen at all?
Yes, we can see your screen.
All right, how about now?
No,
Still no audio on that?
no
Nothing.
audio.
Do you have headphones or a secondary microphone plugged in?
I don't know. It's just the
Okay.
computer audio. I wonder if that's the issue, huh?
I know for me, I can play the computer audio as long as my headphones aren't plugged in. So that's why I thought to check to see if you maybe had something else plugged in.
Well, if we don't get audio, that's going to not be too well, because I got a couple videos I wanted to show you.
Well, Lieutenant, like you said, it could be that the volume was down on your computer.
Let me try this again. Mm-hmm. Do you guys hear that or no?
No,
You still don't hear that?
no.
How can I share the audio without sharing the? Mm-hmm. Did a PowerPoint on here, didn't we, before, Donnie? But it didn't have audio, huh?
No, it
Right.
did.
We didn't. Do you have it up on your end where you can hear it when you're playing it?
Oh yeah, it sounds fine on my end. Can you hear me still?
We can
Yes.
hear you. Yeah.
Let me see if I can try this one more time.
Okay.
You don't hear that either?
No.
We don't. Do you want to try to email me your PowerPoint and I can try it on my end and see if it'll work?
You know, I'm thinking maybe should I? Well, the problem is the file's too big because there's videos on it.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe I can. Do you think I should like dial in and just use the audio from my phone, and maybe try to mute this?
Worth a try. Worth a try.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Hang on. Let me try that. Hang on. I'm going to mute this computer. Sarah, do you hear me?
We do, but there's a lot of feedback on my end. Are you all hearing that too? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I was afraid that was going to happen.
Turn off the mute the computer and turn that off.
Yeah.
Looks
It
like
is
he
muted.
is muted on the computer, yeah.
I don't think that's going to work.
Is some of the presentation without volume or?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But I mean, a lot of it, the videos are kind of relative. You know what? I'll just, I guess, ad lib on the videos. I mean, I guess that's the best I can do here. All right. You guys see my screen again or no?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. All right. So basically, you guys still can't hear this, right? You guys, can you hear me?
Nope. Yeah, I can hear you, but we can't.
You can hear
the
me,
video.
but no video, right? Or no audio?
Right.
Is there an
You see
option
the
to
video?
share the computer audio?
Well, I shared it at the beginning. So basically,
Oh,
this
okay.
video just talks about how the city has an extensive network of cameras set up all throughout the city, and they use them to, help police do their investigations, whether it's, criminal investigations or traffic investigations. And I guess they're talking about how the public feels about the city network cameras. They accept them or they don't because of the safety that they provide. This particular video is a traffic accident caught on the city's network cameras where they actually struck a pedestrian in this one. And you see how helpful these cameras are that they have posted throughout the city to help them solve the crime. In this case, if the pedestrian or driver ran a light. They also speak about how they had so they're also talking about how city traffic engineering uses these cameras to adjust the traffic signals. So if there's, no car sitting at a light, they can, keep it green, or if there's a whole bunch of cars sitting at a red light, they can change it. So it helps them go from, help them make these traffic cameras. And so I guess right now they're talking about somebody from the city monitors them, or if they're just able to pull the video is kind of more like an afterthought. So that's what the newscasters are discussing. You'll see in this next snippet of video, they'll talk about a downtown event that they have in this particular city, and they could basically use this network of cameras that they already have in the city to monitor these events and direct police and fire activities for large crowded events in their downtown area. So, you talk about these, you guys still see the screen?
Yes.
Yeah. So, you talk about, like, I can tell you one big case that really busted this wide open was when they had the, if any of you guys remember when they had the Boston Marathon, the bombings down there. They used their network of cameras there in Boston to help find and lead to the arrest and I think conviction of those two that had those bombs there for the marathon. So when we talk about surveillance and we talk about monitoring, you know, there's polls out there that you're going to find that there's a certain level of acceptance from the citizens and the public for public surveillance, and that many feel that the infringement on some privacy is an acceptable trade-off for greater security. And I think everyone realizes that that's kind of more of the norm now than we had even 10 or so years ago. Many believe that once you are outside in the public, there's generally not really an expectation of any type of privacy by most. So for the most part, the public is pretty supportive of these cities that have a network of cameras here. The city of Akron in specific, when we talk about what we're doing in Akron here locally, we have 277 cameras throughout the city. Many of these cameras are installed on city-owned properties and buildings. They are also installed on city-owned light poles and traffic poles. These cameras all have power and fiber running to them because, of course, you need power and fiber. You wouldn't be able to store the data on a server, be able to pull it up. So it's kind of tricky to get a camera sometimes in an area where it might not have a traffic light or a traffic pole, because then how do you get power and connectivity to them? So there are a handful of cameras that we have that are wireless and they go off a line of sight. And I could tell you that, you know, the Davenport Park would be an example of a camera system where it's actually wireless and it goes off a line of sight. But for the most part, we stay away from these because we want fiber and power, so we don't have to do like a line of sight, because then if you're dealing with a line of sight, sometimes as the trees get bigger, it may interfere with the line of sight and the connectivity between the cameras. So we prefer not to do that, but sometimes that will work, you know, depending upon some of the environment of the landscaping there. This allows the data to be stored on city-owned servers, and we store all this data on these city servers for approximately 21 days before it's eventually written over. Most of these cameras, of course, record 24/7. Most of these cameras, however, are not monitored. So nobody sits there and stares at these cameras looking for crimes or traffic accidents or anything like that. It's usually something that we pull after an incident has already happened. We do have some camera systems in Akron that are monitored in the dispatch center, which is the communications in downtown Akron at the Stubbs building. And the dispatch center is a 24/7 dispatch center, and basically the radio room sergeants have access to viewing those 24/7. Most video footage is requested only after a known crime has occurred. Again, it's typically, we're not sitting there watching the cameras. It's more like, okay, a crime or an accident occurred at this intersection. We know there's a camera there. We'll go back and pull the video and see if it can be helpful into solving either the traffic accident or the crime. Any video that becomes evidence in a crime, of course, needs to be saved according to the state of Ohio records retention laws. So once we actually have a video that becomes, usable in court, then it becomes evidence, and we have to retain those for significantly longer than a 21-day retention period. Some of the cameras, the newer cameras that we actually installed throughout Akron, also have multiple views. So you may have one camera, but it might have 2 or 3 different views. So it actually can see, like, some of them can see actually like a sweeping 180 degrees. What we have found from our experience in Akron is typically when we install like a pan, tilt, or zoom camera, that anytime you have one of those, it's never kind of pointed in the right direction. And so we try to stay away from the PTZ cameras and just have fixed cameras in these locations. You can see from this little chart here, the city of Akron has, again, 277 cameras. Some of these cameras have multiple views that don't show up on this report. So, some cameras may have 2 or 3 views, but it's still only one camera. And you can see that we have 5 different servers that house this data, all this data. I mean, this is tons and tons of video storage, and these files are big because they're recording 24/7. So we need a bunch of servers to do that. And we have 5 servers currently that the city of Akron supports. Here is a picture that I took of the dispatch center. And you can see from that 55-inch TV that we have installed at the dispatch center, you can see how they can use that software and pull up any of these 277 cameras throughout Akron, and at any given time, see what's going on in any of those views that those cameras provide. Some of those, if you can see my pointer, the middle of the screen where some of these cameras are out here, these are the downtown Main Street cameras that were taken offline due to the road constructions in downtown Akron, and those will be put back up here pretty soon. So some of those downtown Akron cameras are offline just because of the construction. We use a software in Akron called MILESTONE. So MILESTONE is the city that, or is the software that we use for our video management. And the COA chose, the city of Akron chose MILESTONE because the software is reliable, it's customizable, it's scalable, user-friendly, and it's secure. Other video software can be purchased to work in conjunction with MILESTONE as well. So it's kind of like an open source platform where it works with other future software purchases that we would consider making here for Akron or the city. Many detectives now have the ability to pull these videos directly from MILESTONE to assist with their police investigation. So we recently started dropping this MILESTONE software on the detectives' desktop computers, their workstations. So if in the event they're investigating some type of crime and they have access to a city-owned camera, they can actually just sit at their desk and pull that video directly from that camera. We never used to have the ability to do this, so this is quite a change and helps us assist with many police investigations. The Akron Police Department has already used some of the video footage from these cameras to solve some various serious crimes. And I'm talking crimes such as homicides. You know, it would have been nice if I would have been able to show you a crime that actually happened in Akron, but because of you know, I can't show you a video unless it's been completely adjudicated in court, and some of these are within the last couple of years. So these videos are very helpful for the detectives when they're investigating these crimes. So when we talk about managing the videos, that's kind of a tricky thing, because you can imagine if the software is recording 24/7, and I want to see if somebody passed an intersection in a 4-hour block, how I'm going to sit there for 4 hours and look for, you know, maybe a suspect that matches the description of the crime. So now they have really cool software out there that we're looking to do a pilot with, basically a T&E with. It's a video software that is searchable, it's actionable, and it's quantifiable. Imagine if you could sort through hours and hours of video in just minutes. So now you can with video software management platforms such as BriefCam. And I'm going to kind of walk you through what this BriefCam looks like. Does anybody have any questions before I get into some of what this video analytics will do to us? Okay, so BriefCam is a video content analytics program. It improves post-event investigation and productivity by pinpointing people and objects of interest with speed and precision. It also has a license plate reader technology and can send real-time alerts. This is not facial recognition software, okay? Facial recognition software is out there, but this is not what this is. Do you guys all still see my screen?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So I'm going to show you this video of what some of this BriefCam software looks like. So you can imagine how helpful this would be. So we're going to walk you through how this software works. This was from Hartford PD in Connecticut, and they were having a bunch of complaints on their street. But before we get into one particular complaint, you can see from this video how they just basically timestamp any object or vehicle comes across the screen, and it's basically like a screen overlay. So you're only actually watching a small snippet of video versus watching 12 hours of video. This particular video that we're demonstrating is a 12-hour video. So investigators will only be able to, they can sort out this long empty spaces of video, and you can see what person walked down the sidewalk, what their description was like, what car they were driving, what direction they were traveling, all in a short period of time. So what he's showing you here, this is a 12-hour video. He took all the dead space out of it and he condensed this video into a 15-minute review. So you go from watching a 12-hour video into just only seeing the object that actually pass on the screen to a 15-minute video. So this particular demonstration he's going to show came in through many, like many complaints we get at the Akron Police Department, either through the mayor's office or the chief's office. And these people in this Hartford, Connecticut were complaining about this foot traffic going in one of these duplexes over here. If you see my mouse over here on the left-hand side of the street, I guess a drug haven for people to come and go to purchase drugs. So you can see from the right where he's moving his mouse over there, you can actually sort through these filters and look for only people or vehicles that either come and go from that particular location or that come and go from that particular apartment. And it'll sort through all this video and only show those people that go to that particular house. So what he's going to do on the right, he's going through some of these filters and he's going to take out every object he doesn't need to see. And he's going to sort through every man, woman, or child that goes to this apartment, which is a problem location in Hartford, Connecticut. And he's going to eliminate everything else but the people that are going in and out of the apartment. So it took him about 12 seconds to sort through this 12-hour video and filter out only the people that were in that 12-hour video that was recorded.
Hey, Lieutenant, right there's a gentleman that walked and left something in the road. I'm just curious, was that a baby stroller or something?
Yes, yes. So from the filter, he put man, woman, and child. So he filtered out all auto traffic. And so any man, woman, or child in this 12-hour video will be filtered out in literally under 12 seconds. And now we'll watch where these people come from and where they go. And that could give the police a bunch of intelligence that can be used later. And you can see those timestamps on those subjects walking on the video. So if you wanted to pull up that one particular person, you'd be able to just highlight the person and it would eliminate everything but what was on the street at that particular time when that man, woman, or child walked on the sidewalk.
Wow.
So these heat indicators from this arrow on this video indicate the most traffic is going to this duplex here on the left side of the street. And all these arrows indicate where these people come from.
Lieutenant, I got a question. I'm pretty sure I know the answer, but I want to
Go
back
ahead.
up. Do we currently have this technology?
We do not.
No, that's what I thought you said earlier.
Yes, this is something we want to move towards because you can imagine how helpful this would be for police to look through a 12-hour video, a 24-hour video, a 5-hour video. And so now, I mean, you could literally search a 12, 24-hour video in 10, 15 minutes now. Let's let this play through here. If you have questions, keep asking here. So what he's doing right here, Donnie, is he just wanted to see any person that goes up the steps into this duplex. You see my mouse on the screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, so his little arrow, all he wants to know is all the people that went up this particular house and into this address. So it's going to filter all the other dead space out of the video, and it's simply going to pick any man, woman, or child that goes up these steps into this duplex, because this is the problem complaint in this neighborhood.
Wow. Very impressive.
So this guy on the right, he can click on this guy on the right, click on that guy, and he would be able to see a live feed of what the video looked like in real time with just this guy walking down the sidewalk. And you could see that this guy's walking down here, and I think he's looking out. He's a spotter, and he's making hand signals back to that problem location house over there.
I seen that.
So it filters all the dead space out, and it just focuses on that one guy who is a spotter for this drug.
I like it.
Yeah,
Very
so in this video, they found that in 12 hours, over 300 people went in and out of the apartment in a 12-hour period. So imagine how helpful that would be for the police when they start to do a search warrant on that location. Anybody have any questions about that?
Anyone? Just
I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
So if Akron were to get brief cam, would it be used similarly to our cameras now, where it's not monitored 24/7, it's just monitored if there's a complaint or a crime?
Correct. Yeah. So basically what I'm telling you this does is we already have a network of cameras, which I described, 277 cameras precisely, that are housed on 5 servers that record 24 hours a day. We don't have the manpower of the people to view these things or monitor them 24/7, nor would we want to. So basically what I'm telling you that we can do is we can use this software like Milestone and BriefCam to help our investigators. Okay. We can put it on the existing cameras already that we already have throughout the city. And then that software does all the work for us. All right. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So technology and video security camera platforms have come a long way in the last several years. Many of our police investigations now include video surveillance to help us solve crimes. The city of Akron already has a robust camera system that detectives currently already have access to, and managing these videos and sorting through them can be challenging with hours and hours of videos to sort through. So that is essentially the presentation. What questions do you guys have?
Does the 277 cameras pretty much cover the whole city? Or is that?
Yeah, no way. 277 cameras doesn't cover, I mean, even a small portion of the city. A lot of those cameras are on city buildings too, if there's any kind of vandalism or damage or theft, like that type of stuff. So some of these cameras, they wouldn't get a ton of traffic on. But when I'm talking about, cameras, I'm talking about, we could tap into cameras that are already on the street at main and busy intersections with either a lot of foot traffic or pedestrian traffic. A lot of foot traffic, pedestrian traffic, and or vehicular traffic.
So in Akron's case, are they mostly in commercial areas, or are they mostly in residential areas?
I would say they're mostly in probably business areas. I mean, we have some in residential areas, but again, I have a list of the location of all the cameras, and I didn't, most of them aren't. They're not really embedded into the neighborhoods. They're at main intersections mostly, or on city-owned buildings.
Chairman?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I can't see anyone, so just go ahead and chime in.
Lieutenant,
yes, sir.
You mentioned that the cameras run. Are any of them programmed to where if certain sounds go off, they automatically rotate to that area or record? I know they have.
Right, that's a good question. So now you're talking about Mr. Neal, you're talking about like shot spotter technology. Is that what you're talking about, where it can actually record the audio? So all these cameras, for the most part, are without audio. They're strictly video, and they do not move. They're not pan, tilt, zoom cameras. They're just fixed cameras on certain intersections and or points. So no, they do not move towards a noise. We don't have shot spotter technology, and we can't manipulate them through pan, tilt, and zoom.
Okay, because I was at a trade show once, and a conference, and they had the street lights that, not saying I want this kind of technology, but basically, certain words are said or whatnot, conversation, the street lights would start to record. And that's why I was wondering if like they do hear certain sounds or certain decibels where they would rotate to that area and start recording.
Right. So we actually went down to a field trip in Canton. So Canton has some of that, they have some of that shot spotter technology and some cameras that they have similar to Akron, where they've been using. They use Genetech, which is a competitor to Milestone.
Okay.
But they found it interesting because the shot spotter technology, when it heard a noise, the camera would immediately pan, tilt, or zoom to that noise. And what Canton found was that once the citizens knew that this technology was out in Canton, they stopped calling the police because they thought all the cameras would do the work.
Okay.
So their calls into the police like decreased dramatically because they thought that the police already knew because they had this technology that they were using. I mean, besides the fact that it was super expensive, they found that the citizens didn't become as engaged then because they just assumed that the police had this technology, so they weren't going to call. So this was actually kind of one of the detriments to it. So it's kind of interesting, and that's part of learning with this technology. You got to use it, implement it, and see if it works. And if it works, great. And if it doesn't, you got to come up with a plan B. So
I think Youngstown uses something similar as well.
Yeah, like Canton, I think they actually got rid of the shot spotter technology because it was cost prohibitive. And again, like I said, a lot of the citizens in Canton stopped calling because they thought, the police would already have this technology to do all the work for them. So why should they call?
Right.
But I mean, it's really impressive. I mean, some of this technology is really impressive. And, we didn't even talk about, cameras on businesses and how often we have, crimes caught on privately owned business cameras. We don't talk about, the citizens of Akron that have Ring or home security, how we can, utilize that. I mean, this is just the city network of existing cameras and how this software can be used to help police solve crimes and make the city a safer place to live in.
Mr. Chair, I'm not sure if you can see that there's hands raised. I'm not.
Oh, yeah, Trayvon.
Lieutenant, you said that only a few of the 277 cameras are monitored. What would those cameras be that are monitored, and then what prompts those cameras to be monitored?
So that's a good question, Trayvon. So the cameras that are monitored, like in the dispatch center, are the ones in the most densely traveled areas and intersections. Okay. These aren't the ones on the one-off city buildings or, like city properties. So the main cameras in Akron that are monitored by the dispatch center are those that are at main traffic intersections, I guess. Does that help? Yeah.
Good question. Any other questions?
Do you get a lot of residents that give you their Ring footage? And how helpful is that?
Yeah, it's very helpful. So what officers do now is anytime that there's a major crime that happens in Akron, they go out and they do, it's called a neighborhood canvass. And what they're looking for, A, are witnesses, but B, more importantly, if these homes have cameras on them, because there are so many homes now in Akron that have, cameras on them. So we ask them for their footage, and most of the time they give it to us very willingly. So if they're not a witness, they might have heard something, their camera might have caught it. So, we do that stuff all the time now. We pull, footage from these citizens that live in Akron that just want to help us solve these crimes because of the security system that they've installed on their own house. So, I mean, it's really quite beneficial for the police and investigations. I mean, that's one of the first things we do, looking for witnesses, and we're looking for people that have cameras on either businesses or their private homes.
Lieutenant?
Yes, sir.
I know when I had a hot spot in my area, the city didn't have updated equipment, and the store, the merchant was very cooperative, and many times would send footage from his store. You might have remembered when open pantry was an issue, and the community worked with the store owner. We haven't had anything like that for a couple of years now, thankfully. But I know Mark Greer, who works with all of the Great Streets business districts, in a meeting that we had, because I'm fortunate to have a company by the name of Clarktail Communications that does this type of technology. We had talked about, because I know we're talking about Ring and other things, but once you establish something, it's not like crime always happens in one spot. And sometimes there's different hot spots, and it can get expensive putting cameras everywhere. We had talked about mobile units. Have you heard of cities that use mobile cameras, pretty much like the speed cameras they put in school districts, but a little bit differently, where you could establish them in different communities, so that maybe we just buy a set of like 4 of those things and move them around wherever there's a hot spot, much like we do the speed trailer.
Right. Yeah, I'll be honest with you, Mr. Neal, I don't know a ton about those. I think we have some of those, and I think those are managed by the city, but I'm not sure how often they move them. I think it's kind of somewhat, it takes a lot of work to install a camera on the top of either a telephone pole or a traffic light. That's just not something you just go do in 15 minutes, because, you have to have a server to store it. It has to be, tapped into some type of network. So, are those available? Yes. I don't know that much about them. I could, maybe look at getting some more information. I don't know how many we have or who even uses those, but I can certainly ask.
Okay. Well, I know Mr. Clark at Clarktail, he was doing some research for the Great Streets area over there in the area in my ward, and we had even looked at the facial recognition, although we all said that we would prefer not to engage in that, because it's, it has its limitations, and it can sometimes even misdiagnose, if that's the proper term to use.
Right. The facial recognition is kind of a hot button topic just because of the data that it's pulled from, and like BriefCam has facial recognition software built in their platform, but you could just simply turn it off and not have it, because I don't know that it's reliable. I don't know how useful it is. I think in maybe 5 or 10 years, I think that's going to come a long way. But right now, I don't think the community embraces that either. So we're not looking for that. But imagine with the BriefCam, I didn't really talk too much about license plate reader technology, but imagine, if every day or every week we could put all the stolen autos into this BriefCam system. And if a stolen auto drove through one of these license plate readers that we had on these cameras and it sent an alert to the police, I mean, how helpful that might be to recover someone's stolen car. I mean, so license plate reader technology would be another really big advantage for us to have on a software platform like this. So we're definitely considering something like that. The tricky thing with license plate readers is they have to be, they can't be too high up the pole. They can't be too far down the pole, because then people will rip them off. But if they're too high, they're too far away from the vehicle. So it's a little bit more tricky to install, because you got to have a certain amount of pixels in each video to make sure that it picks up that plate. So a lot of those, if you're sitting at a traffic light next time, look up when you're at a traffic light and you see those cameras just staring at you directly above those traffic lights. Those are, I mean, they're not really recorded 24/7, but those are more for traffic engineering where they can see a vehicle sitting at a traffic light and the light can change accordingly. It also is used for like the snow and ice removal folks. So they can actually like tap in, look to see how bad or snowy or icy the roads may be. And so a lot of those aren't really, utilized for police, but they do have a city function, that helps other city, departments in Akron. Anybody else have any other questions?
Does the speed that the car is going affect the license plate reader?
Yeah, so sometimes if the vehicle drives so fast, like let's say it's going 80 miles an hour and it zips through and it's like too blurry because the pixels aren't clear enough. Yeah, obviously you wouldn't be able to, get a car that was going like in excessive speed for the, the camera not to pick that up. But that would be relevant. But, hopefully on the city streets, most of these people aren't driving that fast.
Mm.
No.
I have to chuckle on that one.
Right. One of the biggest complaints, Donnie, right? Is speed
Yeah.
through residential neighborhoods.
Yes.
Yeah.
No. Anything else? Anyone? Lieutenant, anything else to add?
I think that's all I have on that. Do we have anything else on the agenda?
No, this is the only thing we have on the agenda. I know
Okay.
Captain Yelly obviously can't join us, so.
Right. Well, I apologize about not having the audio. Hopefully you guys got a little bit out of those videos, even though I had to kind of, ad lib them as they were going through, but I hope you understand how useful some of that software can be for
Yeah,
police investigations and how we have
I'm
already
impressed.
embraced. Yeah, if we can embrace, what the city of Akron already owns, which is a pretty extensive network of cameras in Akron that are already owned, operated, and run by Akron, and storage and videos are ours. They're not sent to a cloud. We're not paying some, exorbitant amount of monthly fees to, host it in the cloud. We have this stuff already. It's just a matter of getting that software on there so we can utilize some of these tools to make our investigators more efficient in their investigations.
Lieutenant, do you have a rough cost of what that would be?
No, I don't. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't have a rough cost. We actually just had the vendor from BriefCam give us and the command staff another demo because we demoed these things. We did kind of a pilot period maybe 2 or so years ago when I first came into IT, and it didn't really go so well because our infrastructure, our IT infrastructure, and the old servers that we had that Mr. Neal, we talked about how we already replaced a lot of those. It didn't go as like anything that we envisioned. So now that our IT infrastructure is robust and we have servers that are up to date with Windows 10 and everything else, we want to try it again because we'd really like to, tap into some of this technology and some of this software that can help the police be more efficient.
Good.
Do you guys have any? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Do you guys have any sort of timeline of when you would actually get the software? Like, is this already a plan in motion?
Yeah, so the MILESTONE software and the cameras already exist. The only thing that doesn't exist is the BriefCam software. And we're
Right.
we could probably start testing that within the next 3 months. And, then it's just a matter of dumping the data in the software and seeing if it can actually do what it promises, which is filter those long videos and pull out those people in a short period of time. So, I mean, this can be done. It's just a matter of whether or not we have the funding and or if it works as designed. A, you want to always be good stewards of the city's money. And B, you want to make sure that what they're selling you, it actually works as advertised. So that's part of the pilot period. All these vendors, they always give us a free trial to where we can test their software to see if it actually works as described. And that's what we always do first before we're going to go ahead and spend, thousands of dollars on software that, we want to make sure that it works before we commit to something like that. So that's a great question, Shelby. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Very good question. Lieutenant, I would try to work down that road in regards to what that cost would be.
Yeah, I can get you some costs on that once we get a little bit more close into the pilot period.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lieutenant.
Yes, sir.
I know we talk about this a lot. Excuse me. We talk about this a lot when we look at something on the cost saving side, trying to monetize that. One, I would think that the company may be able to help us with some grants, but if we have an idea of, because 5 hours, if somebody has to watch that for 5 hours, I don't know how much tape has to be watched. If we could have an idea right now what the labor cost is on just looking at tape, it would help us get an idea if this is going to, cut that so quick. We would be able to pretty much get an idea on how long it would take us to get a return on our investment, which would make it, what we have to be good at, and I use this example because everybody can relate to it. Everybody looks forward to paying off their their last car payment. Or I'm going to have an extra $400 a month. But if you don't budget it, that money just disappears. You don't know where it goes. What we have to be better at is when we make these kind of investments, earmark where we're going to pinpoint that savings. But this is something where, I don't know what this software costs, but it would be easy to be able to figure out what the cost saving is if we're already spending, 200, 300, 400 man hours a year watching videotape.
Right. Oh, for sure. I mean, some of the vendors, I think, have a tendency to overemphasize, the cost on return, the cost on investment on some of these things. But that's why when we trial it, we actually, have boots on the ground, and we can say, oh my gosh, it took me 10 minutes to watch this 4-hour video, and that saved me 3 hours right there. So, I mean, those are the kind of the tangible things we would look for in a pilot, like, before we went ahead and committed to purchasing something like this.
Yeah. Good questions. Yeah, I don't have anything else to add at the moment. Anyone else? I mean, this is a good presentation and good questions and comments.
I just had this watching that video. All I saw was Minority Report. Does art imitate life, or does life imitate art? It's
right.
Kind of spooky.
Yeah. Technology is amazing. We just got to make sure that we're using it right. And if it makes the citizens safer and the police officers and detectives more efficient, that's really, at the end of the day, what it's about.
I saw a lot of trash in the street when the street cleaner used to go down that street. Those are calls we get as council members.
I mean, the videos, it's really super cool because, like, in one of the demos, he just put animals in it. So he took out everything in the 12-hour video other than animals, and you see like birds and squirrels walking down the street. Or, like he would put red pickup trucks. If we were looking for a red pickup truck, any red pickup truck in that 12-hour video, it would just show a red pickup truck. He used that as he filtered out all the children. Like, let's say there was like an Amber Alert or a missing person, and they may have been missing from this area or possibly in this area. And we know that all we know is that the child had a red backpack on. We could, filter all that stuff out, and it really, really is neat. It's just, we need a video in Akron to dump in there and see if it actually gives our detectives some of those same results.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, and Lieutenant, this may seem kind of stretched, but I know when I was in LA, there was a city, and they had a drone flight academy that they had inside their school system, so that when children came out, basically they had they were able to meet the FCC requirements for flying drones. They just had to be
FAA.
Yeah, okay.
Federal Aviation, yeah.
This stuff is so unique and interesting. I would love to see where we whatever the back end, because all this stuff works off of, kids say, why do I have to learn math? Well, all of this stuff works off of algorithms, and so I'd love to see if we could connect a training component in some kind of way with whoever the vendor is, where we could give our kids just a little bit of insight on how this all this stuff works, so they can start, learning. This would be a junior police academy on the tech side, so they would just be able to understand this stuff and learn this stuff to be engaged. If that's possible, and I'm saying whatever we do, if we're developing a smart city, most people aren't going to college for this. They're going and they're taking a special training course, and then they're coming out and they're doing this stuff. I'd love to see if we could tie it in with our school system.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, Mr. Neal, as you know, we have like interns. We do internship programs at the Akron Police Department. Typically, when we have interns, that's all done through pretty much community relations. But every intern that goes through Akron gets to spend a day in dispatch, and they get to spend a day with the K-9 unit, and they could spend a day with IT, or they could spend a day in patrol. So, we do have those programs available to students, of course, but we can only take so many, and that's part of the challenges with that. But, I mean, it's great when, young kids want to be engaged in, possibly future career in law enforcement. As you know, it just gets harder and harder to get kids engaged in this type of stuff now. And, we really could use the community's help and your help to, help us with those things,
Well, we'll talk offline. I got some ideas. We're looking to start a Saturday school academy.
Okay.
And this would be just not to tie up the police departments all the time, but if they would just have someone come in and show them and have access to a test thing, I can see kids having fun just taking. Look, I'm going to take this out the video, I'll put this in the video, and understanding how that technology works.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing that there's a career in cybersecurity, that type of stuff.
Yeah. Good ideas, man. I like them.
Good. Anything else? I mean, I really don't have anything to add. It was a really great presentation. I learned a lot. I like it. All right. With that, I guess I'll move forward and let everyone know that we have one last meeting left, and it's our 5th and final meeting, and it's going to be Wednesday, November 18th at 5 p.m. Obviously, moving forward, I'll get with the lieutenant and Captain Yowie and see what we can discuss in the coming days. And then if anyone here with our interns or council members, if you have any suggestions or anything, please email us or let me know, and we can put that on the agenda.
I would like to maybe explore a little bit using data on a very pinpointed neighborhood level to maybe engage citizens a little more. I know every time they've come and done presentations at the ward meetings, the neighbors are always intrigued by learning how do you learn just about your piece and how we make that better and more usable for our neighbors. I think it's a tool that they would love to know how to use a little more, but they don't always know that information. Maybe we could create some kind of card that we pass out, a communication piece that we could pass out. Maybe we could explore those options. How do we get some of this information into the neighborhoods a little better?
Okay. Lieutenant, anything to add on that one?
No, not at all. I mean, if you guys have some ideas for the last meeting, please let me know. I'd like to put something together. So, I keep you engaged and I give you some information that actually you want to hear about and it may be useful. So let me know.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Like I said, anybody just email me, like Sharon brought up a suggestion or whatever we can do for our last meeting. Once again, it's going to be Wednesday, November 18th at 5 p.m. That's it. With that, if I don't see anybody, I think what we'll do is I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, thank you very
All
much.
right. Yeah, thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right. With that, thank you, everybody.